Welcome back to the show, Jess. And in today's episode, we're talking about breaking free and surviving on these holidays with people pleasing and our family and everything that comes included with this season. We're in November, hitting Thanksgiving, we're hitting December. And I know that there's a lot of our audience women out there going, oh my gosh, what if so and so gets invited? Oh my gosh, what if I get the right present? And I'm so glad that you're here to welcome us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back. And I always love being a part of any space that is about empowering women, especially right now. Um, Gosh, so much of the things that we do as women is around like trying to cater to everyone's needs. So I'm Jessica Murph, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have a private practice called Beyond Boundaries Counseling, RGB. Even though I work with people all over the state of Texas, I originally started here in South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm still here, and this is my home.
Oh, I love that you're here in the Rio Grande Valley because we need so much of more women being empowered here to help our people pleasers. Why do you think that the holiday season tends to bring up a lot of stress among those that are women and people pleasers?
Ooh, do we have 5 hours? What the
I know.
uh, so, first of all, family of origin trauma. The holidays, it's supposed to be a celebration, something very beautiful, decoration, something that some people are very privileged to just experience.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of us, we experienced mom, grandma, whoever being incredibly stressed out and frustrated. And, that's can be because they wanted to have everything done a certain kind of a way and, probably not getting a whole heck of a lot of help and just doing everything by themselves. And if they didn't get something done right or they forgot something, then probably someone else in the family, dad, grandpa, even kid would, you know, ask mom, "What you forgot this, you didn't do that." And so rather than it just being a wonderful thing to experience behind the scenes, we have a very frustrated, you know, woman of the house trying to get everything done. And whether she was aware of it or not, took out that frustration on the kid, hey, you need to do this, hey, you need to do that. And so it all just kind of trickles down and not a healthy thing at all. I say to heck with it. Just
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. One of the characteristics in women is perfectionism. Oh, if I just do
Mhm.
this just right. And if it's not just right, that's it. It's all gone, to horrible failure. And therefore they internalize I'm a failure because it's not done perfect. And I
Right.
always, yeah, and I always see in the Mexican culture, if the mom comes in right away, we have to be doing something because, we can't relax.
Uh-huh.
But we have there the brother or the father watching the football game. Well,
Yeah.
come on, help me in la
Oh, this is
cocina.
nice.
Mhm. Exactly. What are some of the common characteristics you see in women who tend to prioritize other people before their own needs? And what can they do to shift this pattern?
Okay, so I'm gonna go like real deep, like the root of it, rather than just some of
Yes.
the self-care tips,
Go
which is
for
always
it.
really good. But okay, so it's about the core value. And because of like anxious attachment, disorganized attachment, or I mean, let's all just say it, emotionally unavailable parents, this core value is created in a person that, they wake up in the morning believing that they are just not enough, especially women, and especially, the women that I work with here in the Latinx community. They everything that they do is about proving that they have a right to breathe. Everything that they do is about proving that they are enough, that they are worthy of love, that they are worthy of respect because they are not respected.
Yeah.
They are just not respected. And the sad thing is that they do so much. And I'm sorry that I'm passionate. And I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
They
No,
they
let's do it.
do
Yeah.
so fucking much all the
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yes.
And their reward is, "Oh, well, you didn't do this one thing right. Oh, you paid that bill a day late. Oh, you forgot the milk. How could you?" So all that work that they do is just negatively reinforced. You're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. And then we're like, "Oh, why don't you love yourself?"
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Gee.
Yes. And even in the kids. So I remember when I was little, I was visiting my grandma and I was like, you know what? I'm going to help my abuelita broom her sala. So I'm here brooming the front porch and her living room. And my mother comes in and she's like, my grandma's, look, she helped me clean. So proud, right? Because, once you become a grandma, it's different. It's like you're not the mom, she's the grandma. And then my mom comes in and like, yeah, I wish you would clean like that in my house. And it's
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, you do something right, but they don't acknowledge that and they make it worse. Or even if I did do something, they figure, oh, that was too easy. You know what? You need to do this also. Next time, you need to
Mhm,
do this and this and that. So it's never enough. There's always something wrong. And,
mhm.
so here we have the little girls growing up to be like that. The moms are, punishing them. And then the grandma, by that time, they maybe realize what they're doing or they're too far gone with the criticizing. How can this generations of not enough, what can be done to shift this?
I tell my clients, "This morning, when you just woke up with your nasty, stinky morning breath and, bed head, all of it, with your, like, babas, with everything, you are enough. You're more than enough. You are precious. You're special. You're fucking fierce.
Yeah.
You are everything. So we've got to find ways for you to change that core value in that so hard." And they go like, "Oh, thanks, Jess. How the heck do I do that?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Look, mama, like it's gonna take time because we're talking about changing a core value. So while we understand that that is the goal to change that core value, you've got to start small. You've gotta start treating yourself like you are the damn queen. Hold
Yeah.
your head up high, whatever you need for self-care. For some women, it's getting their nails done. For some women, it is, just having some alone time,
Yeah.
in the morning, whatever you need to do. Start treating yourself as though your core value is, "I'm enough just breathing this air. I'm enough just walking. I am enough no matter what the hell I'm doing, and I don't need to prove it." Stop trying to prove that you're enough and just be
Yeah.
enough. And if someone treats you like you aren't,
Yeah.
they don't need to be a part of your world.
Oh,
Get the
yes.
hell out.
Yes. What can they tell them? Like, let's say a mini baby step. What can they tell them whenever somebody tells them something? Let's say the mom goes, "Really? That and or a friend going, "Yeah, you've gained some weight. You need to lose a couple of pounds. I'm your friend. I just thought I'd let you know." What can they tell them to kind of go, "Yeah, you're not my people."
I'm so far removed from that toxic shit. First of all, like, no one gets to comment on your body, period, much less if it's unsolicited. I'm a believer in health at every size.
Yeah.
health at every shape of your body, right? So, you can say things like, hey, we don't need to talk about the size or shape of my body. And if they continue to judge you, start pulling away. You don't necessarily need to have a full blown conversation about how they are toxic and how you've been on your journey in therapy. You can just take longer to respond to their text messages. Don't answer the phone every time that they call. Listen, I don't answer my phone when people call me randomly out of the blue because I've got things going on. I've got I've got a life. And maybe I have nothing going on, but that's my nothing.
Yeah.
That's my space.
Yes. I
Your
love
distance is
that.
enough.
Oh, yes. I love your distance is enough, meaning you choose that distance, what you want to be with that person, if they're healthy, not healthy, if they're toxic, going, you know what? We're not talking about that right now. And you don't have to answer that text. You don't
Yep.
have to respond. You can stay silent and you can distance walk away. That is an amazing tip. I love it. And that now brings me to my next one. And this is the toughest for my women people pleasers here, especially in failed relationships, because people assume relationships is with your partner, but relationships is anyone that you have any connection with. It could be your
Mhm,
brother, your sister, your mother. It doesn't even have to be a relative. It's just people
mhm,
you hang out with. And in this holidays, there tends to be a lot of lack of boundaries. And these women hate this word, boundaries. Loving limits, whatever you want to call it. But this is what is needed in any relationship. How
mhm.
can they assert themselves when they're so afraid of creating or implementing these boundaries, especially during the holidays within their relationships?
You use the word assert, and I love the word assertive when it comes to communication. Obviously, I'm a very assertive communicator because I spent so much of my life either being an aggressive communicator, a passive communicator, or my favorite, passive aggressive, because that was my mom's MO.
Oh,
I guess the dish fairy is just going to show up and wash these dishes.
oh, yes.
Say it with your whole chest, mom. Uh, and speaking assertively, when you when you use assertive communication the right way,
Yeah.
you are stating things as a matter of fact without emotion involved. If someone made you a promise, let's use dishwashing. Someone made you a promise that they were going to wash the dishes and you were going to cook dinner. You come home, sink full of dishes, person's scrolling on TikTok. You could come home and be like, "What the fuck? What the hell? You were supposed to," that's aggressive.
Okay.
Or, you go in the kitchen and you start slamming things around. That's passive aggressive. Or you go, "Would you mind? Could you please, if you get a chance? I know you're so busy." That's passive communication. All of those styles are unhealthy. They don't work. They are useless. Instead, go to them and say, "Hey, remember we had a deal. So you go ahead and wash the dishes like we agreed on. I'm gonna go take a shower. When I get out of the shower, I'm gonna make spaghetti. Bet? All right." Sometimes maybe you need to take a minute. Maybe you walk in and you see the dishes, you're tired, it's been a long day. Go take a minute. Go breathe. You know, let's all assume that everyone's just doing their best. Go regulate your emotions
Yeah.
first and then come in and use assertive communication.
Oh,
And if the
yeah.
person continues to disrespect your agreement, they don't belong in your world.
Oh, I love that. That I know with Dr. Bruce Perry neurosequential model, our brain works bottom up. We can't really implement boundaries if we're not cool, calm, and collected. So I love how you said, you know what, we need to regulate ourselves. Kind of do a self check first and see Am I in the right space to be able to assert myself and become assertive
Mhm.
and implement this agreement? And if you're
Mhm.
not, let's take a step back because you come
Mhm.
first. And then when you're in the right place and you can now formulate some words to keep it business, not personal,
That's right.
then you can go ahead and talk to someone. As a matter of fact, this was stated, but it wasn't. This is my opinion, my value, my boundary, and there's no non negotiable. It needs to be met. I don't know how you're going to do it, but this is it. And
Yeah.
if not, this is what's going to happen. And
Mhm.
then the follow through with that. So, yeah.
The follow through. I think that is where people struggle the most. Can we go there?
Yes, I was about to let's go there.
Yeah. So people pleasers, when we, it's, it's like a word, the people pleasers. But when we start doing that work in therapy, when I'm working with my clients, or hell, even maybe just friends, they get it. We learn boundaries. We do lots of homework on like what boundaries are, different types of boundaries, and we learn the assertive communication. Right? We're doing homework. We get it, but the the reality is that it's not just about implementing the boundaries, it's about holding it. And that's where people struggle so much because maybe they're able to get, mom and grandma to understand that, I can't visit you every single day. I have children, I with respect.
Yeah.
This is just too much. And when you when you kind of give me that guilt trip, like that's not helping our relationship, right? They do all the things.
Yeah.
But then, time goes by and mom and grandma or whoever that they're setting these boundaries with, they're not in therapy maybe. And so while they are trying to be respectful of the boundaries, they themselves are not there. Right. And so they start with the guilt tripping. They start with the performative guilt and, like, I know, but, like, I really need this from you, and no one else is gonna do it, and they go like, "Okay, yeah, you're right," and yeah, and then they come to session with me the next day, and I'm like, "No, okay, no, you have to hold the boundary because if you let's say you hold that boundary real well for a week,
Okay.
and they're like, held the boundary, and then after a week, they like, "All right," and they let it go, and they kinda give in, and, they revert back to old behaviors. You're just telling people that they need to ask you for a week before you give in.
Wow.
No. Move.
Wow.
Hold the boundary.
Okay.
It
How long do they have to hold the boundary?
forever,
Thank you.
forever. You set a boundary, that boundary is a rule. You forever,
Yes.
period.
It's a life transformation.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes. Mhm.
definitely. How can implementing these boundaries forever help create, build resilience and create authenticity in a person when it comes to relationships?
Oh, it just gives me the warm and fuzzies thinking about that because
Yeah.
when you I needed to touch my heart. When you implement those boundaries and you make those long-term changes, you one day you wake up and you wake up and you're like, I have so much space and time for me now. I can breathe.
Yeah.
Not having this like weight and guilt and oh my God, what is Wella gonna say? What is mom gonna do? What like, oh, did you wake up one day and that's gone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if the family is complying, and maybe they don't. So maybe this isn't the reality. Maybe the reality is that you end up having to push some family members away a little bit. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do come around. And all of a sudden, you find yourself wanting to pick up that phone and call them.
Yeah.
Maybe they learn from you. Maybe you call them and they're like, not right now, Mijita, I'm busy. You know?
Oh, yes.
How wonderful would that be?
Wow. Oh, and I
I
always
want that for
say,
everyone.
I know that's the reason why we do what we do. And I there's this definition by Dr. Shefali, and she talks about soul erosion and that people pleasers, every time they people please and give in to others, a little piece of them dies and erodes. And that includes their self-identity of who they are. So when you do this life transformation, one day you're gonna wake up and go, huh, this is me. This is
Mm,
who I am. And I'm not going to ever lose that part of me ever again.
that's
And
right.
I remember you mentioning, well, not everybody's going to comply. Okay. Well, how would peer support or therapy help establish that empowerment for that individual to continue this path in that transformation to be resilient and be authentic?
Peer support is great. So, like group therapy, support groups, maybe even just like joining a women's Facebook group or something along the line.
Yes.
You find that maybe while you lost
Yeah.
something, you find the thing that you lost was toxicity, pain, trauma, and you made space for authentic relationships, for friends that build you up, that don't cause anxiety. Listen to your body. If you are talking to someone and you get that pain in your chest, or you look at your phone, oh, it's them again. Your body's talking to you. Your body is saying, stay away from them. Listen to it. We get that like heaviness in your chest. That person is probably not good for you. And or you need to set better boundaries with that person. But if someone calls you, your bestie calls you, the girl from the support group, maybe you get a sponsor that helps with like people pleasing and accountability. And you're like, "Oh, right, my bitch." If you get that it's
Yes.
calling me, you get excited and you feel uplifted, you feel motivated, and you jump on her podcast.
Yeah. 12
I
steps
need that.
support group for people pleasing. Definitely. I love
Those are
that.
the people you need to talk to and surround yourself with. I need that. I know, like, when you and I talk, I
Yeah.
I know I light up. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I feel good at the end of our
Yes.
conversations when we talk, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go write a blog."
Yes. Yes. I love that. That's what peer support does because great
Mhm,
minds think alike. You want to be with that person who have shared values to know that, wait, am I crazy? Is it me? No, it's not you.
mhm.
I mean, it's you for staying there,
Yep.
but it's not you for thinking that way.
That's
And that peer support will help you build that. I remember when I was shifting, and there's a period of shifting from letting go the stage of grief of who you were and the stage of change of you becoming. And that yucky part in the middle of like, oh my gosh, I'm lost. And this is where the support group comes in therapy. And I was in between that at one point, and I remember telling my now friend, going, yeah, so and so would say this about me, but she was my friend. That's why she did it. And she goes, and she's that bad. Like, gee, FYI, friends don't do that. And I was like, oh, I wasn't aware. She's like, yeah, we uplift, no negativity. We
right.
accept non-judgmentally.
That's right.
Wow. And that opened up my eyes thinking, well, she wasn't a friend. That was toxic. Wow. I was stuck in a people pleasing relationship because I would always give in to them and they would criticize me that it wasn't enough. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I was living in a relationship that was like my mom. And that's what happens. And I'm just like so glad I'm not there. And I have my new people and I love it. What is your best advice that you can give women who are starting their path of being people pleasers and becoming empowered?
I mean, for one, you can't do it alone.
Beautiful.
If therapy is not accessible for you, find support some way, somehow. There there are so many ways to find support. If you can get into therapy. Make sure you find a therapist that is, and we're therapists, we have therapists, like, we don't do on our own either. I years and years and years and years therapy.
Yeah.
This didn't come naturally. It takes work. It takes a lot of work, and you're gonna make mistakes. But that's why you need support. That's why you need either a therapist, a support group, starting to distance yourself from the things that feel toxic. Listen to your body, create a stronger mind body connection.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is by having time to listen to your body.
Yeah.
And how do you have time to listen to your body? You make space. You
Yeah.
create space. So I don't think I have like one best advice because there's just so
Yeah.
much. What would you tell someone would be your best advice?
That is exactly what you said. I mean, what you said, you know what? You can't do it alone. It's a
Mhm,
journey, not a destination. And if you
mhm,
fall, you're still falling forward. You dust yourself off, get your peer support, your therapist, someone who's positively available, unconditional support, and you
mhm.
keep fighting that fight because there's no looking back. And your goal is to become empowered, authentic, resilient. And we're going to have moments and embrace those moments. So, exactly what you said. Ah, that was beautiful. Before we wrap up, I do want to be able to tell the audience here on anything that's coming up. I know that you're having a boot camp for couples, especially here in the holidays that's coming up. Maybe any projects, and where can they find you on social media?
Awesome. So my website is www.bbcrgv.com, Beyond Boundaries Counseling, RGV, like Rio Grande Valley. And I do have a boot camp coming up for couples. I call it a boot camp because it is a way for me to help as many couples as I can in a very affordable kind of a way. It's going to be one flat fee for 4 weeks. Going to be one day a week for 4 weeks. It's going to be a group couples online event. And I'm just going to share as much of my knowledge as people will let me. I'm going to get homework. I'm going to talk about Gottman method and making respect the most important part of the relationship. Because as long as respect exists in the relationship, you can find your way back to love and intimacy and romance. But if you don't have respect, you don't have shit.
It is what
So
it is.
that's gonna be at the end of January, beginning of February, right before Valentine's Day. So instead of spending your money on, an expensive dinner or frivolous gifts, invest in your relationship and,
Yes.
come to couples boot camp together and put in the effort, put in the work, do the work, and your relationship will be better for it. It just really will.
I love how you said that. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. And I'd like to leave with two questions that I want to ask you that I always ask my guests because I love to hear your point of view. And question number one is, what is your definition of an empowered woman?
Ooh. A woman who trusts herself, a woman who makes decisions and doesn't feel the urge to ask every single person they know, hey, was this the right decision? Did I do that okay? They make a decision and they trust themselves because they know that all these other decisions that they have made has gotten them to where they're at today. So when they make a choice, make a decision, they feel confident that the choices and decisions they make are going to keep them safe and protected, bring them joy, money, security. They just and that's because they have surrounded themselves with people who empower them.
I love that. I love that. And my next one, let's assume in the future that all your work that was created was lost, your legacy, anything that you had written, anything about you. And 3 generations moving forward in the future, let's say your great grandchild or niece or, a female line within your family line found a letter from you. What truth could you bestow or would you bestow on this family line of females so they could carry on forward?
Oh, I'm going to bring it back to you're enough. You're enough. When you woke up this morning and put your feet on the ground, you're enough and you don't have to prove it ever to anyone. You are absolutely perfect just the way that you are. Whoever, you know, God or universe or science or energy, mm, whoever created you and got you here, you're just absolutely enough. So don't ever feel like you need to prove it.
Wow. My gosh. That was so beautiful. So beautiful. I loved it. And so I just want to say thank you for your time, for coming here in this new podcast of Empowering Women in Conversations, because I know you were in my earlier days of conversations at work. And this is the reason why I switched for females to know that you're not alone. And so thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me be here. I love it.